Hi everyone, my name is Biscuit and I work with a company called Drill Team Dynamics. I'm a Drill Team Dynamics associate, and if you have not seen my sophomore, freshman, junior year, I highly recommend you go and watch those to stay with the storyline. And the reason I'm making these videos is to help prevent those from having to go through what I went through, as well as helping those who are going through similar experiences that I did to help them push through and get through it. So with that being said, let's get started. To start off, I want to say I'm sorry if this video comes out late because I have been ill this past week and have been trying to deal with a lot of things. And you know, life happens and things come up. So things didn't go as planned. I'm recording this on a Saturday evening because I just ran out of time and I'm deeply, deeply sorry. To start off, this is my senior year, part 1. And for my senior year, we didn't have a coach again. So I was also the commander, and with that, our instructor had a different mindset that year. And when I say a different mindset, he wanted a different routine and he had a different way of looking at things than what our team or what the seniors on the team were used to looking at from our freshman year from our coach. And so it was kind of difficult trying to work around him and what he wanted, and so, or what our instructor wanted. And so that year the ARM team was on top because the instructor we had wanted to deal with us, and the guys had a coach there whenever they needed him there, and they also had a very successful leadership as well as delegation throughout their team, and they also had an instructor who was specifically assigned to them. So this was their year to shine, and this was the Unarmed year to falter. The reason for it, looking back, was we had shorter practices. For the girls, it was shorter practice time. It was a lot less than what we were normally used to, because we used to have like a 3:35 to 6 o'clock practice 5 days out of the week, and I think he shortened it to, I think it was 5:30. So it was a little bit different. And then this is mainly on my part because I didn't enforce it enough. There was too many long breaks. And as I said previously, during those breaks is when things come up. Well, with this particular team, we had more team bonding, and so girls tended to get along better. So during those long breaks, they would just talk onto some topic, and it'd be very hard to get their attention. And each year, a team has a different dynamic because of the new people coming in and seniors leaving. So it's normal to have to figure out how to do things differently because I had to go through it. And it was just, this team that year was more particularly loving. And the reason we didn't do so well in Daytona was because we were too loving. As I said in my previous video, we had a team that was filled with hate, and with the anger and frustration and whatnot built on it, and we were spot on and everything was great and everything was good to go. But when you have a loving team, you don't try as hard. You don't push yourself to do better and be better. And once we got to Daytona, you could see that. And it was kind of upsetting because I was trying to build that team that was loving of one another, because all I've seen was just people being angry with each other. if I would have had another year, I probably could have made it somewhere in the middle and brought up a team that was fairly successful. To me, when I look back on it, I don't think, like, I succeeded in the Lovable team, and I've also succeeded in the team that did not get along. I needed to find that middle, and if I would have had that time, I probably could have found that middle. But you learn from your mistakes and experiences, so taking it as a learning moment. But I also had a leadership bracket where I had my likable person, I had the one who enforced what we were saying, and not a lot of the girls liked, and then I was the one who was respected. And the reason I say this is because throughout my senior year, I had gotten a infection in my front tooth, and I had to get a emergency root canal. My face was so swollen, I was not recognizable. I was in school on and off for about a week because of how bad it was, and it was just one tooth. It's crazy. And during those practices, my likable person and the enforcer, they had trouble getting the girls to stay on track. But when I visited practice, or they said whenever I was there, they did what they needed to do. And so it's kind of odd in a sense, but we had the balance on the team. It's just we still needed a little bit of tweaking on regulating the balance and as to how much of the likable and how much of the enforcer that I needed. So it kind of worked, but it still needed some tweaking. When we got to Daytona, our instructor had left us for the guys, and it was very strange for the seniors because we were used to him being there for the unarmed team no matter what. When our instructor just went everywhere with the guys and did everything with the guys, it was kind of upsetting, and we felt how the guys felt my freshman year because the girls were on top and then the guys were on bottom, so the girls got all the glory and whatnot, and this year the guys got all the glory and the attention, and we just kind of sat along for the ride, to say the least. Our instructor didn't really seem to care as to what the unarmed team was doing or any events for that matter, and it was very disappointing because I've been on the team for 4 years. I've known these instructors for 4 years, and he did not have any interest in us whatsoever, so it was very disappointing. There was a point where we were getting ready, I believe it was for either inspection or exhibition, and I needed a parent, and it was only us girls in the room, and so I went to go look out in the hallway. There was no parent. That really upset me because, like, I understand they went to go watch the guys and do their thing. Like, yeah, that's really fine. But they left all of us teenage girls in a room without any help or supervision. And that was really upsetting. Like, yeah, cool, they trusted me in watching them, but I needed outside help with our uniforms because we couldn't bend over to tie our shoes. And so I was pretty much the one who ended up having to do all of it. And it was kind of upsetting. I shouldn't say kind of, because it was upsetting. And then there was a point where I admit I was rude to a cadet because I was stressed and I was already upset because we were packing our things. The cadet was taking one of the bins, and I admit I was out of line, and I needed that bin for the courts for when we got back to the hotel. And the cadet told me, well, this instructor told me to do it. And I said, well, I need that. Put it back wherever it came from. And my instructor yelled at me in front of every single person in the room and said that was very rude and that I should feel bad, and just kept yelling at me and screaming at me in front of all the cadets, all the parents, and the administrator. This instructor knew that whenever I got upset was either I did something wrong, whenever I got really frustrated, or the thing is whenever someone yelled at me. And whenever anybody raises their voice or yells at me is when I start to break down. And sometimes it happens when I don't want it to, but it happened. And I pulled one of my leaders aside and I said, can you come with me to the restroom? And so we marched to the restroom, and I cried in the restroom for a good while. And it doesn't mean it was my senior year, and I just got yelled at in front of everybody and an administrator and my parents. So it was really embarrassing, really upsetting. And when the arm guys and whatnot got their stuff together to go for tandems and duels and solos and whatnot, the girls wanted to go watch, and I said, okay, y'all go watch. And I stayed in the room. I stayed in the room and I cried the whole time. I stayed in there by myself and I just cried. Don't chew my cord. You're ruining the moment. I stayed in there and I cried. And I just kept crying because I couldn't believe it that I just got yelled at in front of everybody my senior year, and no one seemed to care about the team, did not seem to give their time of day or thought about what the unarmed team needed. It was not a good final year for a senior, but it happened, and I unfortunately never apologized to the cadet, which I should have, and I never got to talk about that incident with my instructor, and I don't know if that conversation will ever come up. So things happen, and you just have to learn to move on and get past it. And even though I do highly recommend you talk about it with those people, it's just, I didn't want to start crying. And I knew if I would have talked about it again with them, I probably would have started crying because of it. I am a better person today than I was then. And I would really take pretty much anything that happens in life as a learning experience, and just to learn from your mistakes and faults and whatnot. Earlier, Ginger knocked over my phone, so I'm trying to keep him happy and not knock over my phone. He's needy. He's a needy cat. Very needy. Yes, you are. But with that being said, just make sure that if you've ever been in the wrong, to apologize for it. And that's one thing I regret, is I never did apologize for it, and I should have. There was really no excuse for me yelling at this cadet, but I did raise my voice, and I was yelling, and my instructor had enough of it. So, anywho, make sure shorter breaks during practice. If you can practice for longer, do it, because the more practice time, the better. You practice, I think it's was good teams practice until they get it right. Champions practice till they can't get it wrong. So I'm pretty sure that was the same. But stay tuned for part 2. This is pretty much the gist of my senior year. I would definitely stay tuned for a after senior year video, so I could tell you about my life and where I'm at and how things are going, especially with my babies. This one is a little bit annoyed when I give them too much attention. Make sure y'all stay safe, stay positive, love yourself. Bye.